to our panel that we've been promising, the question of the running mates. What a big conversation. We're talking about a big battle on presidential hopefuls, but it seems there's another big battle for how they will pick for running mates and who will be the ultimate choice for these presidential hopefuls, and especially those that are being termed, quote-unquote, the horses in this particular race. So our gentleman here tonight will be helping us discuss some of these issues around the picking of running mates. But of course, Ken Mijungu has taken us through the vice presidents and the first deputy president in the country. Really want to look at what has been the difference, what have we seen differently with Deputy President William Ruto. And that relationship is shared with President Uhuru Kenyatta, I imagine, will take center stage in this conversation, because it will inform a lot of decisions that these presidential hopefuls will make ahead of 2022. And gentlemen, thank you very much. I should say, we have with us here Senator Kitui County, Enoch Wambua, with a wealth of experience in the newsroom, so we expect that we'll get a lot of that. You've covered a lot of these people, so you'll be giving us a lot of insights on that end. We also have Dr. Ojwang here, who's a lawyer and the Dean at the African Nazarene University. Thank you very much for joining us here on Kivumbi 2022. And finally, Martin Olo, lawyer, political analyst. Asante sana for joining us here. And my colleague, Ken Mijungu. Ken, where are we starting from here?
Thank you. And obviously, we have to start from the point Sophia Wanuna left with Musalia Mudavadi, because it's important to understand the relationships between the past presidents and the vice presidents. And this is the first time the Constitution is giving us a deputy president, gentlemen. So it's very important to examine this relationship, because it's going to inform how the next candidate for president is going to definitely pick his running mate. There's a lot of things we have to learn from the relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. So I'll begin with you, gentlemen. I'll begin with the practicing politician who is on the table tonight, Senator Wambua. Yes. Very important. And this relationship does not end with the president. It also goes to the governors. We'll be discussing that. But the most important thing for you as a senator, as a politician, when the candidates for president will be picking their running mates, as a practicing politician with the lessons learned, what will that be? Because there are lots of things that have been said. They've said it could be gender, for example. If you pick a woman, would you have a head start? It could be youth, for example. It could be the monetary, the funds. I have more money. What are you bringing on the table? It could be anything. What is it for you?
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for having me today. I want to begin by saying that, you know, when Akisa was making the introduction, she almost made us look like we're the presidential candidates about to be picking our deputies. Let me just clarify that and say we are just here on this table to discuss ideas and take this story forward. First, to say that the choice of a deputy, whether it's a deputy president, whether it's a deputy in an office, the choice of a deputy is always a very, very challenging choice for one reason. The reason that in most cases when you are choosing a deputy, the fact that you are making a choice, it means that there are so many people to pick from. Okay. Yeah, the fact that you're making a choice. Secondly, in politics, I think in most cases, if not all the cases, the fundamental question to ask yourself is, what is my deputy bringing on the table? Okay. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, that which comes to the table could be all that you're talking about, Ken. It could be they're bringing in the youth vote, they're bringing in the money, they're bringing in the women vote, they're bringing in the business community. What exactly is it that you're looking for as you choose your deputy? But for me, and most importantly, is to ask the question, as presidential candidates pick their running mates, is it them finding the right choice, or is it them and their deputies finding each other?
Okay. The chemistry between them.
Yes, the chemistry between them.
Yes.
Because in the absence of that, synergy between the principal and the deputy, then you end up with things that are similar to what I am witnessing in Kenya today.
Musalia Mudavadi described it. He said perhaps the chemical mix in that chemistry was not right. Let me bring Dr. Ojwang. Very important, very fundamental indeed. but reflecting back on the reasons why they chose who they chose. I'll give you an example. In 2002, just before the late Daniel Toretich exited the presidency, he chose Musalia Mudavadi, who served for only 2 months. At that time, he was informed by the fact that Uhuru Kenyatta was looking for votes, so Western Kenya was supposed to be bagged. However, it went the other way to Mwai Kibaki, but that was the reason why it was chosen. Look at 1964 December when Jomo Kenyatta chose the first vice president, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. There was something. Odinga insisted that we are not yet free until we're free. Yes.
Yeah. Again, he has spoken on our behalf to thank you for hosting us and Kenyans for viewing us. Hopefully they are.
Hopefully they are.
There are a lot.
Yeah. But you know, I think maybe we can problematize the idea of finding.
Okay.
Because I see people are rising from first among equals. So right now you are seeing the scene where everybody is a presidential candidate. If a running mate emerges and a candidate emerges under those coalitions, which are now legal and even registered by the registrar, then what Senator was saying, have they been found or they have found each other? Almost like spouse and whatever, not so much the hierarchy. So Jaramogi and Kenyatta, Jaramogi felt that Kenyatta was first among equals. Not that Jaramogi was going to be his running mate or deputy. It was just saying, I can be the president, but I prefer and I yield to you, and we are going together to work towards A, B, C, D.
Okay.
That might be different a little bit with the vice president that President Moi was picking, but you can see at the conception of the idea of deputy president, it is Jaramogi who picked Kenyatta. Kenyatta was in prison. Jaramogi was to be the president. Jaramogi said, no, he'll be the president. I will deputize him or be his vice president. So we might want to portray and have a general reality. But I think it is almost situational. When you look at the idea right now, even of NASA, that there were presidential candidates, and they all said one way or the other, we will have one of us be the candidate.
There can only be one president.
There can only be among the equals.
Yes.
And so when they have done that, then when we so much look at the narrative of he has picked so-and-so as his running mate, then sometime we run into headwind of the reality that, you know, some of the thing was consensus, boardroom, or even a little bit of bargain.
Okay.
Right now, you are seeing even the bargain that before Kalonzo, and you depicted it there very well, by the time Kalonzo abandoned Raila and preferred Kibaki.
In 2007.
Remember, one of the real conversation was, Raila, you are first among equal, but you are a little polarizing. You are too strong. It might be attacked if you let me go and you deputize me, because we are a team.
Okay.
So in that case, where if Raila will have done that, we don't know what will have happened. But if he will have switched those fortunes and say, you are right, Kalonzo, go, and I will deputize you, will you say Kalonzo picked Raila?
Okay, seniority counts, and that's a delicate balancing act, Martin, because even for the presidential candidates right now, one of the things, and I'll bring in Oka right now, one of the things that they are considering is seniority. Who can deputize? Well, I know I've mentioned all these other factors. What I didn't mention that Akisa will talk about is the regions, the regional vote as a consideration to a presidential, a deputy, right? So one of the things that they consider is seniority. Who is senior in politics? And this narrative has been said now and again, even when they were sitting on the table for NASA, for example. Why were they rallying behind Raila? It's because Raila was senior than all of them. So they think, let's give it to the senior first. So that's also a consideration. But as a consultant, you advising these people, Uhuru is not running. So we have William Ruto. William Ruto calls you on the table. Raila Odinga calls you. Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Mwangi Wairia, and Jimmy Wanjigi. As a consultant, what would be on top of your mind for these people?
First, history is critical. About 3 ways in which vice presidents or deputy presidents emerge. One is a natural way. When Dr. Juang was speaking, the way Jaramogi emerged was a natural chemistry between Uhuru and, Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi. The other natural way that emerged is seeing Wamalwa Kijana emerge out of a relationship between him and Kibaki. So a very natural progression there.
Yes.
Besides that, what else you see is a balancing act in terms of political representation and perception. So when Moi takes over, Kibaki comes in as the next in line, one, because of the central region, and two, what you just talked about, he was a very senior person having run treasury for a while, so his experience in running government makes him ahead. After that, what you see is political survival in terms of, if I want to disrupt this thing, what do I do? Let me throw Kibaki off, bring Saitoti. Let me throw Saitoti off, bring Musalia. So now it's about calculations. Okay. So it's no longer, again, chemistry. It's about trying to, what I'll call later, to do a deception. That you are deflecting people from reality in order for you to create the impression that this thing can go anywhere. Initially, you know, it was the number 2 position, if Moi was there, was supposed to be a preserve of the central. Now you're saying, no, it can go anywhere. So it's a bit of deception, deflection, but disruption as well. So in terms of how you make these choices, it's about
having an academician.
Yes, it's about what you are about to do. In politics, it's not how you determine that path, but how you get to where you're going by deception, by showing people that you're actually with them when all you're telling them is, look, I can get this done, if only to deflect me from what else I need to do. So there are many things that are going to determine this. Number one, what is it that you want to have this deputy role bring to your table? Obviously, we'll talk about the region, we'll talk about the tribe, we'll talk about a few things. One thing that I can tell you, and I want to tell the youth and the women, it's not going to be the card of youth, it's not going to be the card of women. No. This card is going to be a tribal card.
Numbers.
It's a game of numbers. Let me just pick it from what Ken said, and he was talking about the seniority issue. And you've begun by giving us history, going back to 2002, more than almost 20 years later.
Yeah, sure.
The very same key faces then are the key faces in this particular race. We're talking about Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, and they've all given the indication that perhaps they think they are the man fit, or the men fit for this particular job. Musalia Mudavadi talked about it also today. So then when it all boils down to the real race, because I imagine right now it's still backroom politics, when it boils down to the real race, who will be number 2? Who will accept to be number 2?
Let me tell you.
Are we likely to see something like that?
The person who will be number 2 is already being determined by certain factors. For example, the way Central is positioning themselves, if they are going to put a demand on Kalonzo, they'll put a demand on Musalia, they'll put a demand on Raila, they'll put a demand on Ruto. And all those people will have to look at them for the next choice, for the choice of a deputy. But they're saying, no, we're not running, but here is our demand. So they are positioning themselves.
Okay.
Now, if you ask me again, you'll see that then everybody else is also positioning themselves, particularly again from the regions. So that what is going to affect all these political players, especially at the presidential level, is to see who then puts enormous pressure on them, and therefore, how do they cave in? It's going to be pressure, it's going to be caving in, but I can tell you it's going to be the people who are saying they are 40% saying we are not taking anything less. So that's the argument.
Look at Senator's reaction.
And I'm glad he's here. Because the most recent press briefing, he talked about if Kalonzo supports Raila, because we're already talking about a Raila-Kalonzo ticket, and his people have said, no, you're not going to do that. Why?
And it's a loud no. I mean, it's a loud no for many reasons, but let's even go there. let's concentrate on the debate around choosing deputies. A complicated thing, very, very complicated. In the past, before the 2010 constitution, we had presidential candidates who had carved for themselves a bigger-than-life image, and so that whatever they said had a lot of sway across the country. So it was just for them to choose, you know, I want this guy to be my deputy, and that was it. Now, we are living at a time that decision is not entirely a decision of the presidential candidate. We are seeing willing brides putting demands on the table and saying, yes, I am willing to deputize, but this is what I want. This is what I want.
Yes.
And let me tell you what, and let's shy away from this. The day that all the presidential candidates, whatever, it doesn't matter how many there will be, 10, 20, 30, the day each one of them announces their deputy, that day will determine whether they have won or lost the election.
The ground will shift right
I
there.
ask this,
Yes.
I'll
Yes, sure.
allow you to finish.
Yes.
I ask this because the likelihood of a Raila Kalonzo ticket and Kalonzo being running mate has been met with a lot of backlash from his people. And I imagine this will help with this conversation. Why are we so keen on him not being a running mate and taking the top job? What informs this decision?
Now, speaking for my community,
Yes.
if I can, and by the way, let us also disabuse this notion that there is nothing wrong with using the tribe as a tool for political mobilization in a democracy. All politics is local.
Don't run away from
Where you come from, we believe that His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka Senior Counsel has the requisite experience to be president of this country.
5 years, 3 months.
He has demonstrated ability to lead from the top,
Yes.
as vice president, as a minister in many, many ministries. He has shared his presidential ambitions twice for one person. That's 10 political years invested in the Right Honorable Raila Odinga's candidacy. He has mobilized his community, which is his base, and it is a solid base.
Okay.
And we are saying, going into the next election, we believe that as a community, we will have no less than 3 million votes, scattered across the country. And that's not a vote that you take with a son who has this wealth of experience. You don't take that vote to somebody else's basket. We are saying it is time for Kalonzo to be on the ballot. And he said something very important. Supposing in 2013, because some of these things, as you say, are situational. Supposing in 2013, when Kalonzo argued very strongly that my brother, Right Honorable Raila, you are strong, yes, but you are a bit polarizing. There are some people in this system who may never allow you to be president even if you won the seat. Why can't you let me be the head of the ticket, and there will be calm in the country? I have stabilized the government in 2007. Why can't you let me be at the head of the ticket and we win this thing? Whatever happened, happened. So those are some of the reasons that we feel strongly that we cannot allow him to deputize one person 3 times. We can't allow that.
If it's someone else?
Yeah, away from
I
Raila.
said in that conference, I said here. The final decision on the nature of the ticket, the One Kenya Alliance ticket, the final decision on who the flag bearer will be is a decision to be made by the principals. I will push for a Kalonzo presidency as much as I can. Senator Malala will push for a Musalia presidency as much as he can. But when the chips are down and the principals sit down and say, guys, you know what? This is the ticket. Both myself and what I stand for, Malala and what he stands for, we will all align and support that candidate.
Okay.
Great. Dr. Ajwang, Central Kenya factor. And we have seen a lot of leaders make forays there. Musalia Mudavadi is just from Meru, because we're looking at it as an entire region. And the conversation is for you to win or have a head start, your running mate must come from Central Kenya. Is this really the reality?
Yeah, I think, as Senator have said, there are different scenarios, but moving from that opportunity where you aim at the sky and hopefully you land at a roof. You know, there are others who have talked of being presidential candidate, but with the goal of maybe being a governor or being a running mate. So it gives you visibility. We all know that Kioni was a running mate for Musalia.
Yes.
And so if somebody wants another running mate, then that name rings a bell. And so there is a situation where people go for these things so that their name could ring
Position
a bell.
themselves.
Yes. And that's why I'm saying aiming at the moon, hoping to land on the sun or somewhere. Yeah, no, but
Did Musalia Mudavadi, if I'm not wrong, did he get one vote from Kioni as a polling
You want to
station?
begin that discussion?
No, I'm just asking.
You want to begin that
Just
discussion?
asking.
No, you see, that has been said. But
it true?
where I thought he was going, which is complementing where you're coming from, is this.
And you've talked about Kalonzo. The same argument will go for Musalia. He has been a vice president. He has been a minister. He is a very experienced person, and therefore he is ready. The same argument will go for Raila. He has suffered for this country. He has tried it. He is ready. So basically what we are dealing with now, and that's where Senator was going, that we have leaders who are being held hostage by their supporters, and they are telling them, again, you are not deputizing, you must go for it. Musalia is suffering the same, Kalonzo is suffering the same, Raila is suffering the same. So any of these people up here, everybody is telling them, head for the top. So that is also a challenge.
All right. Okay,
There's
maybe
a-
let you
yeah,
finish.
so I think for Mount Kenya, the new constitution tried to build coalition and consensus. Remember, it demands for 50+1. It demands for winning a number of counties,
25.
the majority 25. So it pushes, and that was the engineering that the Constitution was trying to do. It was trying to push somebody from the bigger-than-life scenario that he was saying, where one person was simply ready to be the president, and simply picking somebody to be there because that position must be filled.
Right.
In desperation, you really need a deputy because you can't make it without it. And that obviously, somebody talked of 40% or Akili here. That makes the Mount Kenya bargain a reality that now people don't, we can come of likability, but those rank very low. You can have the vice president or the running mate or deputy president you like because he's funny, but you'll be together after the election cracking those jokes in Java and not in State House. So the issue of likability and even loyalty, as important as it is, become secondary. Because if you are really a serious presidential candidate going after this with all you have, then getting it, even if you know that it will be a sticky relationship, but you hope with power you will be able to maneuver around. And I think that is the practicality of the thing.
I don't agree with him because there's so many lessons. I know you want to take a break, but there's so many lessons we've learned from a sticky relationship that I don't think there's any presidential candidate in his rightful mind today who will pick just anyone because he wants to win an election, and then post-election he starts to contend with a deputy who is not working with him. I don't think, I disagree with you. But anyway.
What if it's somebody you have been given? Somebody is going to be given somebody.
And
you
forced
don't,
with
and you
someone.
don't have to like them, and you don't even have to, because that is going to be a choice of a region.
You're not choosing a spouse.
No, it's not
Ken,
spouse. Yeah.
Ken, let me even complicate it further for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Look at a situation where you are picking a presidential candidate. And according to the Constitution, if you're going to do a post-election coalition with another person, you should stick to your running mate.
Yes.
You can't change running mates.
You can't.
In
10 years.
In 10
Constitutional
years or 5
protection.
years, whatever time you be given, right? So you pick a candidate as a running mate, you don't get the 50+1 in the first round. You have to go into a coalition arrangement with other people,
Yes.
but the guy you picked,
You're stuck with them.
the other guys cannot live with them.
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah.
The limb again.
I know.
Joined at the hip.
I know.
And we're going to talk about that when we get back on the break. Looking at that relationship President Uhuru Kenyatta shares with Deputy President William Ruto, I imagine this makes it even harder to pick a running mate for all the presidential hopefuls. Let's take that quick break. We continue with this conversation. Remember, at Akisa Wandera, at Ken Mijungu, hashtag is Kivumbi 2022. Really love to hear your thoughts on this conversation and what really we expect in 2022 when the rubber really meets the road. Let's get back with that shortly.